Hello my fellow crafters and welcome to Inspiration for Cards. Today's card is going to be a get well soon card, and I'm using this cute Gnome, I don't know how to pronounce that, from Fawn. It's a really fun set, and I'm going to die cut that out with my Big Shot Fold Away. Now let me tell you already that I've cut out a lot of footage because otherwise it would have been a very long video, and I've sped up a lot of the die cutting and coloring, etc. But it's going to be a really fun card. As usual, I will link below to my blog where I have a full list of everything that I used to make this fun card. Now you just saw me use my favorite, the Gina K Master Layouts 2 set to cut out the background and the matte layer. And now that I'm done with cutting out all the separate images, I will start to mask off my background. I'm gonna use some ink blending to create sort of the illusion, at least, of a grass hill. So I'm gonna cut this out. First I'm gonna draw a line and then I'm gonna cut it out. And I think this is good enough as it is. Now, what I've cut out here is that I've messed up. I've started with the wrong color on my brush, so I had to clean my brush in between. But now we're on a roll, and I'm taking my distress ink in the color Mode Lawn, and I'm blending that all over the bottom of this white cardstock. Now I'm using the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. It's my favorite for this technique. It takes the ink really well, and it doesn't warp as much. So yeah, here I'm happy with the green, and now I'm masking off the green part, and I'm starting to blend in the dark blue color. And this takes some time. The distress inks are a bit harder to blend than the distress oxides. However, I do think that it's a very nice, intense color. So yeah, just take your time, keep blending back and forth, let the brush do its work, don't give too much pressure, and you will end up with a beautiful background. Now in this case I wasn't too worried, because if it was a bit blotchy, I didn't mind, because if you look at the sky, it's never clear one color. There could have been some clouds, stars that light a bit, and you will see at the end when you see the finished result, it's a beautiful background. And it turns out to be a beautiful card. Now, if you haven't done so yet, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you will not miss any of my future videos. Thank you. Right, here I'm done with blending, and you see it's a fun background. It's a bit blotchy, but yeah, I was happy with it. It's good enough. And especially if you see all the elements added to it, it's just a fun card. Now here you see me put some inks on my glass media mat, and this is why I love this glass media mat. And I saw Tim Holtz demonstrating this with the minis, the distress ink minis, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. That's why the squares are on there, so I thought let's use it for that. And I'm using the distress inks of different colors to color in my Gnome. Gnome. I know how to say it in Dutch, but in English I don't have a clue. Someone explain to me in the description bar or in the comments how to pronounce it. Anyway, you know what I mean. Now the little dwarf, let's call him that, is done, and I'm doing the mushroom now. And as you can see, I've left the white outline on there. That's not going to stay on there, but I use that as a template to glue it all together. You will see me do that here. I will start with the mushroom, and I put glue in between all the little things and on the spots that I want to glue on the black background. And I'm using my favorite glue here. It's the Art Glitter Glue, and this stuff is really good. It doesn't clog up, and it's not a drying time of now, but it is a quick drying glue. And this is something that I like. It gives me just enough wiggle room when I put something on there, and then it's dry, so I don't have to worry about shifting. Now here you see that it's added on there, and I took away the white outline, leaving the pieces that I want on there still there. Next, it's the time for the gnome, dwarf, for him to go onto his black background. And you see me here putting it on there. The glue is behind him. I'm putting it on there. And then I will take off that outer edge that I used sort of as a template of where to put everything. And that worked really well. I'm holding down the pieces that I want to stay on there, and I'm pulling slowly on that out. Now we're nearly done, and he turned out so cute. I really like this die cut set from Fawn. Okay, next is the lantern, and here I figured out that I did something wrong and I needed the background to be black to be able to complete the lantern. So I'm taking black suit distress ink and just squashing the ink pad on there. And here we go. Problem solved. Putting it together, and then also his lantern is ready to go on the card. Now on the background of this card I wanted some sparkly stars. So what I'm doing, I'm taking a paint blender and some Versamark ink, and I'm putting that through a stencil on the background, making sure that it's everywhere where I want it to be. Now this cardstock has had the time to dry because I was putting together the dwarf and the other bits and bobs that go with it. So the embossing powder only stuck to the ink, which was a good thing. Now I'm taking out my embossing tool, my heat tool, and I'm going to melt that embossing powder. And I'm still amazed about embossing. It's such a beautiful technique, and it's like really coming to life. When that powder melts, yeah, it's still such a fun technique, and I'm still amazed by the results every single time. Now, is that just me, or do you have the same? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I like embossing. And here I noticed that there were some bits that still stuck to the background, but in this case I didn't mind because it gave it a really nice starry effect. Now I'm using my advanced tape glider, which is nothing more than a fancy double-sided tape machine, but I love it. And I'm using that to attach my background to the matte layer before I put it all together. And now it's time to take out my glue, stick it on there, give him his lantern, and then of course put the mushroom on the hill as well. And there we go. What a lovely scene that has turned out to be. I love it. Now we need a sentiment, and as I said, this is a card for someone dear to me that was in the hospital, and so I needed to have a get well soon theme. Now I couldn't choose which one, so what do? I stamped all three of them, and then later on I will see which one we will use. In the end I turned out using all three of them, but you will see that later on. Now for this I'm using my mini Misti because when I use an acrylic block I just can't get a good press the first time, or a good stamp the first time. So yeah, I'm using my mini Misti here. It's a great tool to really get this perfect sentiment. Now making sure my magnet is not in the way, I'm ready to stamp. Using my Versafine black onyx ink, I'm inking up my stamps and stamp the first layer. Now here you can see, especially the top one. The other two weren't that bad, but the top one was a bit blotchy, so that's why I love a mini Misti or a stamping platform anyway, to make these sentiments, because yeah, it makes it so much easier, and you can just do it again as long as you keep the paper in the same spot. Now you see me use a tool here to give pressure at the door of the Misti. This is just a very simple tool. It's a air hockey tool. You know, these tables where you can slide things over. That's what it is. And that's what I'm using for this. Next, you see me dry the ink with my Ranger heat tool to make sure I don't make a mess of it, which, trust me, has happened many times before. And here I die cut the sentiments out with the matching dies. And I really like it that when I have stamps that I have the matching dies with it, because I'm not good at fussy cutting. So if I have the opportunity to buy a matching die set for my stamp set, I will do it. In this case, it came together, so I was quite happy with that. And here I've decided to use the two white ones directly on my card, and I will use the black one later on. And I'm giving it some dimension with some foam tape on the back to really make this sentiment pop. I can't get over how cute this little card has turned out to be. Despite the dark, moody background, it's a bright and cheerful card, and that gnome is really, jumping out at you from that card. Love it. Foam tape is on the back, and I'm positioning where I want them, and I'm going to put it on that card. The next step is to put the card front on the card base. Here I'm looking at the position. I've got some card bases that are pre-folded, pre-made, and this is one of them, but they are slightly too big. So here I'm looking at, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to use that black? Am I going to put that above? No. Here I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. So I've cut back the base card to the size that I want, and then I'm going to put foam tape at the back of the black layer. I'm going to stick it all together. Now I'm pulling 4 corners of this tape and remove the middle tapes completely. This is a tip that I saw in a YouTube movie from Natasha Food, and I thought it was brilliant. It really helps you position the card where you want to, and it's an easy way of sticking it on the base card. Oops, I heard you all screaming, it's the wrong way around. Well, I saw it in time. I'm going to put it on there, make sure all these little tabs that I created are still there. Push it on there, and then I'm going to pull this protective paper from the tape, press down, and it's on there exactly where I wanted it. But by doing it like this, it gave me some wiggle room to make sure it's really positioned where I want it. Next, I'm going to take that 1 sentiment, the black one that we didn't use. I'm going to put that on the inside of the card. And then we're all done. Now here you can see the final result of this card, and I love it. I hope you like it as much as I did. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you the next time. Thank you. Bye.